and then you will be able to see the chat box. In the chat box, go ahead and tell us where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from Chandler, Arizona, originally from Ohio. So would love to hear where you guys are originally from and where you're calling in from. But also tell us what kind of job you're looking for or what kind of industry that you are targeting. And then sometime today, I would love for you to jump out to open a browser, get on LinkedIn, and copy your LinkedIn URL. We already have a couple people that have done that for us. Chris, good morning, he has dropped in his LinkedIn URL so we can click right on it. Rob, you've done that as well. Patricia, Roy, a couple other people, Sarah. So take a look at how they've dropped their LinkedIn URL right in the chat box so we can click on it, and that will allow us to go right out to their profile and connect with them. And so we are doing our best to be able to virtually connect with each other, and this is one of the ways we can do that. So jump out to LinkedIn, grab your LinkedIn URL, make sure it's clickable. We cannot copy and paste on this chat box. It's a security feature. So just make sure it's clickable, and you'll get it clickable by copying that URL in your browser. And then we can just connect with each other. So that's wonderful if you can go ahead and do that. And so a couple things for today. As you have questions, comments on the talk, engaging, Carmen may ask some questions today. Our speakers may ask some questions also. But any comments you have, drop them into the chat box. And that way we have a moderator just kind of looking for questions so that we can ask our speakers either when they take a break or at the end of their talk. And so be engaging in the chat, asking questions, and then we will go ahead and pull those together for during the talk. And great job, you guys. I see a lot of you already engaging in the chat. Let's see, there is also going to be some polls, and when those polls come on, go ahead and answer those polls. We'll talk about those. Is that happening today, Sheila, during the talk? Okay, so that's also
well, not during the talk, sorry, at the end. Yeah.
Oh, that is at the end.
For our evaluations, yeah.
Great. And then Sheila's going to take a minute to talk through some tech stuff, and then I'll be back on in just a minute.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Sheila Colum. I'm happy to be joining you from Gilbert, but originally from Michigan. Go Blue. Sorry, Jess. And like Jessica said, the chat is the way to connect with everybody since we can't be in the same room. So let's make good use of that. If you have joined us on Facebook, because we are streaming on Facebook, and you want to join in Zoom so that you can chat, I've got the meeting ID on screen right now, and I will drop the link in the comment on the Facebook Live here in a little bit. If you want, you can control how the videos of people are displayed, and we're hoping that the audience chooses to put their video on so we can see your smiling face. I think that helps. And if you do, you have a choice of how those are displayed on your screen, depending on what device you're using. There should be like a little black bar above, like Jessica's video right now, and it controls how many videos you see and where they are. And then if you do want closed captioning today, go ahead and just private message me in the chat or text our Career Connectors line, 480-442-5806, and we'll get that going for you today. Thanks.
Thanks, Sheila. All right, let's see, a couple more things. I wanted to let you all know, we get this question every time, so I'll probably repeat this a couple times. We do not send the PowerPoint out to the email distribution list. There's some intellectual property built into the PowerPoints, and so we never send those out. However, we will do two things. This event, this webinar, will be available after the event today, and it will be posted on our website, so you can go back and review the whole webinar if you'd like. But also, we have a fantastic blogger that is recapping the whole event, and we will have that event recap posted on our website later, usually within a couple of days we get it posted. So feel free to take all of the notes you want, but also know that those two items are coming for you to have reference back to later, within the next couple of days. Let's see, if you're not on video, we'd always love to see you on video. So go ahead and turn your video on if you're comfortable with that. We love to see your smiling faces. If you do see anything inappropriate on the chat, we will, or in the event, on the chat or in the event, I think Sheila may have mentioned this, but we will shut it down and we will come right back on. But hopefully that won't happen. We have implemented a whole bunch of security protocols as Zoom has laid them out to make sure that we are secure. And let's see. All right, I think that's it. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a lot of people on the line today. Again, if you have not heard this, open up your chat box and tell us where you're calling in from. Tell us what job or industry you're looking for. And also drop in your clickable LinkedIn URL, which you can get by opening up a browser, going to your LinkedIn profile and copying it from your browser into the chat. Ask questions, engage in the chat box, and we will go ahead and get started. So I am honored to bring you Carmen Payne today. She is a personal and professional development coach. She works with business and corporate professionals to develop leadership skills and increase your self-awareness in order to help you create an even better personal and professional life fit. Carmen's services include personalized coaching, workshops, consulting, and speaking. And during her corporate career, both in the UK and the United States, Carmen traveled the world leading international IT projects, including developing, testing, training, and deploying global solutions with large international teams and partnering with Fortune 500 companies. Carmen retains her project management professional, PMP, accreditation and obtained her coaching certifications at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts and with the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. She also holds certifications in neuro-linguistics programming and timeline therapy and is a certified ADD heart facilitator. So please help me welcome Carmen Payne to our talk today. Yay! This is virtual clapping, everyone. So virtual.
Oh, thank you, Jessica, for that introduction. It's such an honor to be back speaking with this audience and career connectors. This is my first time doing it Zoom version, so hopefully everything will work out okay, and you will receive what you need to receive today during this talk. Just making sure I have control of the mouse. I don't have it, Sheila. There we go. Awesome. All right, well, today we're going to talk about interviewing with confidence. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you all today, I really wanted to think about the current situation that we're all in with COVID, the pandemic, and it's kind of changed the way interviews are done a little bit. Not a huge amount, because I'm still interviewing people. However, I just wanted to kind of add a little bit of more information around how to handle do interviews with confidence during this pandemic, so that you really come out shining and being that star that you are. All right, so before I go into the tools and everything, and I'm going way too fast with my mouse, I just wanted to kind of remind you and ask you the question, who is driving my career bus? And just think about that for a second. Who's in charge of your career bus? Are you letting external factors take control of who's in charge of your career? Are you a passenger on the bus? Are you just taking a back seat and letting everything else around you dictate what's happening with your career? Or are you driving that bus? Because if you're a passenger, you should certainly step into the driving seat and start to drive that bus. Because if you're feeling a lot of anxiety and stress around what's going on out in the marketplace in terms of your career, your job, maybe you've been recently furloughed, maybe you're just worried that your job is not, if you're in a job currently, that it's unstable right now and you don't know what to do about that. Getting out of the passenger seat and stepping into the driver's seat will really help to alleviate some of that stress and anxiety that you're feeling, because it puts you back in control. Okay, so just think about those things. And I was listening to a podcast a while ago by Naomi Kayetti, and she's an author of the book Transform Your Project Leadership. And she described your career as an investment and you need to treat it that way. So the fact that you got up this morning and you joined this Zoom call and you're being part of the Career Connectors family is amazing, because what that means is you're taking that step to invest in your career. And that doesn't need to be a financial investment. It can be just showing up and doing these kind of Zoom calls and getting educated about what to do and how to take charge of your career. So I really love, this is why I do this, Jessica. I love working with career connectors. So what Naomi also suggests, and I 100% stand behind what she's suggesting, because I do this with my own clients. It's like, okay, plan your 2020. It doesn't matter if you're planning your 2020 in August, because we're already, almost 3/4 of the way through the year. It doesn't matter when you start, as long as you start. What are you going to do for the next 12 months? So reflect on the prior 12 months. What has that been like for you? And look at where you want to go. And then plan slow to move fast. So it's kind of like when you're painting a room, right? You have to get the tape out. You have to kind of prepare the room, maybe clean the walls and all that kind of stuff. The same thing happens when you're planning for your career. Take that time to just sit down and go, okay, focus on where do I want to go in my future, and focus on that rather than where you've been in the last 12 months, because maybe the last 6 to 12 months haven't been all that great for you, or maybe they've been amazing, right? And maybe you want more of that. So how are you going to what are you going to do to focus on what you want in the next 12 months in relation to your career? So taking that time to plan, just maybe taking a couple of hours to think about that. What education do you need? What certifications might you want? What industries do you want to move into? What's hot right now? Is there something that, this is an opportunity for you to go, okay, this is an opportunity for me to go, okay, what do I really want to do? What's my passion? This is a wonderful time to think about what you really want to do, rather than just doing a job that pays the bills and it's a job, rather than something that you really enjoy getting up to do every day. And then acting, you've got to follow through on what you've planned. There's no point having this wonderful plan if you're just going to sit down and wait for everything to come to you. You have to take action, okay? Sorry, I'm still getting used to how to move the mouse. So if you're thinking that there's not a lot out there right now and that everybody's looking for a job and it's going to be really difficult for you, again, you're focusing on what you don't want. What you need to focus on is what's really out there. So I literally pulled this snapshot off of LinkedIn 3 days ago. And I was like, I'm just curious, how many jobs are available for us right now in Arizona? And there's over 95,000 100,000 jobs on the web, on LinkedIn right now in Arizona alone. And if you look at the experience level, they're in all levels of experience. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career, there is something for you out there. So again, if you have that mindset that there is something for me out there, and it's for me, just, have that abundance mindset rather than that lack mindset that it's really difficult to get a job right now. And your thoughts create your reality, right? So if you think that's going to be really difficult to get a job right now, that's exactly what you're going to experience. But if you shift your energy to think about, there's a ton of opportunities out there for me, and one of them is mine, and one of them is going to be something I really enjoy, that's what you're going to attract to yourself, okay? All right, so what is an interview? I'm just going to ask you to put in the chat, if you don't mind. What do you think an interview is? I'm going to be watching the chat. So in your mind, what is an interview in its essence? Yep, get to know, try out. Yep, what else? Sales pitch, a conversation. Yep, should be a mutual exploration of fit, perfect. Food for thought. An interview should be a conversation. Yes. Yes, opportunity to determine proper fit, opportunity to show you the best candidate for the position and the company is right for you. Excellent. A two-way evaluation of whether a good fit. Perfect. It's the date. I love that, Gary. Good one. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting that all in the chat. All right. So in this pandemic kind of state, so I just want to throw this slide in there for you. So a lot of the interviews are being done right now, maybe over the phone or via Zoom, but some places are still asking you to come in person to do your interview. Now, everybody has their own risk tolerances about how safe they might feel. So prior to going in person to an interview, and again, this all feeds into your confidence, right? Because if you're showing up at a company where you're not confident that their safety protocols or procedures meet your level of risk of what you're prepared to do, then it's really important to ask prior to turning up to the location is, what are their safety protocols and procedures in place? One, so that you know exactly what they're doing to keep everybody safe, okay? And what you need to do to make sure that you are actually meeting their requirements as well, okay? Now, if it's in person, obviously wear a mask, because that's what we're doing these days, and bring your own hand sanitizer. And the reason I say that, again, is for your own comfort level. Maybe that the place you're going to doesn't necessarily have hand sanitizer available. So think about all the different surfaces that you might be touching as you go into the company that you're being interviewed for. So just having that hand sanitizer just, again, helps your confidence, because it's going to release some of that anxiety and stress you might be feeling about going into a location that you're not familiar with and being around people, especially if you've been in quarantine for quite a while. My next one. If in person, now, you know, we're so used to in interviews in person that we automatically go and shake their hands, right? Well, we're not doing that anymore. So just be very animated in your body to say, you know, in your posture, about, you know, how enthused you are to meet them. And then of course, when you're wearing a mask, make sure that you're speaking a little bit louder than you usually would, so that you don't sound as muffled. Because I don't know, when you go to this, you know, when you're trying to talk through masks these days, I don't know how many times I've had to say, sorry, could you repeat that please, right? So make sure that you are speaking clearly, speaking a little bit louder, especially if you've naturally got a quieter voice. Just project your voice a little bit louder so that they can easily hear you when you're introducing yourself, right? Because again, that shows that you're confident, okay? And lastly, if you're not comfortable going for your interview in person, especially if it's that first interview, just politely ask, would it be possible to do this interview over the phone or via a video conferencing platform? And a lot of the companies will probably accommodate that. And if they don't, then you know you need to make a decision. Is this a company that I do want to go make the effort to go meet in person, or is this a company that doesn't consider my wants and my needs right now, and maybe you move on onto the next opportunity? So that's a decision that you need to make personally. Okay, everybody's different in that regard. All right, so I just want to go through that pre-COVID checklist with you, pre-interview checklist with you when it comes to doing interviews in this current environment. Okay, so let's move on to some of the interview questions that we find tricky that can actually knock our confidence a little bit. So what are some of the common questions in interviews that can be tricky or uncomfortable to answer? And if you can pop them in the chat, that would be great. So let me just see what you come up with. What are some of the questions that you find uncomfortable answering or a little bit tricky answering that can kind of knock your confidence a little bit? And I'm just going to watch the chat for a second. Okay, nothing. Hold on a second. Maybe I'm not scrolling down enough. There we go. All right, salary, yeah. Tell me about a time when you had a difficult time, yeah. What makes you the best candidate for the position? Yeah. Gaps in your unemployment. Okay. Tell me about a time you disagreed. These are great. Project that failed. Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 7 to 10 years? This is awesome, guys. Tell us about yourself. Have you been terminated? Okay. Why are you returning to a career you did 10 years ago? What's your biggest area of improvement? Random questions. What animal are you? Tell me a weakness. Okay. Worst, best manager. Excellent. So these are all excellent examples of tricky questions that you might have in an interview. Yeah, I don't like the weakness question. Yes, Dorothy, that's a difficult one. What questions would you like to ask? Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for participating in that. So I'm going to go over a few of the top common ones that are tricky in an interview that, you know, through my experience of doing career coaching and interview coaching, these are the common ones that a lot of people come up to me with. So what is your greatest weakness or greatest strength? That one came up in the chat. Describe a time when. So we had a few examples in the chat of behavioral questions. Give or share an example of when. How did you handle X situation? And tell me about your last current job or ex-employer. So we're going to go through examples of how you can answer these kind of questions. And I think you'll be able to find that how you've answered these common top 5 questions will also transfer to a lot of the questions that you've put in the chat. Okay. So what is one of the first things that happens in an interview? Just taking it back a little bit. What's one of the first things? Again, put it in the chat. Again, I gotta keep up with you guys because you are speedy this morning. Elevators, introduction. Yeah, exactly. So you introduce yourself, okay? So you need to keep calm and introduce yourself. So the way to do that, even if it's on the phone or via Zoom, it doesn't matter if it's virtual, over the phone or in person, practicing to breathe and relax your shoulders before you introduce yourself helps to get the nerves out of your voice. So like before I even started to do this, this talk this morning with you all, I practiced speaking this morning. I actually used my vocal cords so that I didn't sound croaky or wobbly when I was speaking, so that you could hear me clearly, okay? And one of the things I did to help me with that was to breathe and relax my shoulders, because a lot of the time when we're tense, we tend to have our shoulders up in our ears, right? So just breathe. Do this with me, everybody. I know I can't see you, but I'm going to pretend that you're doing this. So just breathe, take a deep breath in and out, and just relax your shoulders and pull them back, okay? Now, when you are in front of the camera like we are today, if you relax your shoulders and pull them back and sit upright, it just elongates your body, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more too. But what it also does is it allows you to breathe better through your diaphragm, okay? So when you're sitting forward slouched, you're actually contracting too much, and you can actually restrict your breathing. So just sit upright and just breathe. That's all you need to do, okay? If you don't take anything else away from today's talk, just remember to breathe, okay? And then greet. You say good morning or good afternoon, and you repeat their name, okay? So make sure that you are listening attentively to how they introduce themselves and the name that they use, so that you can repeat it back to them and then say your name. My name is X. Very nice to meet you, okay? Now, if I was doing this live with everybody, in person, I would have you all standing up and walking around the room and introducing each other. But we're obviously in a virtual situation. So if there is, you have your imaginary friend and just practice in an imaginary way introducing yourself to somebody. So just do that in your mind's eye. What would that look like for you? Okay. All right. And one of the best things to do when you're doing an interview, just to prepare for your confidence, is to visualize how you want it to go. Now, you know, we all want to make a best first impression. So you visualizing what your introduction is going to look like, regardless of whether it's virtual, on the phone, or in person, is a really great way to kind of get your brain to in sync with how you want it to go ahead of time. So basically what you're doing is you're practicing a future event before it's even happened. So by the time it actually happens, you're very much in the zone. It's exactly what athletes do. They visualize themselves running that race, swimming, or whatever sport they actually do. Lots of athletes do that visualization technique. And this is an excellent technique for everybody to use. So visualize what you want that introduction to look like. Practice it in your mind's eye, and then when you go to do it for real, your mind doesn't know what's real or imagined, okay? Because into your mind, it's all the same. Isn't that amazing that your brain works that way? Okay, and remember, if you're in person, do not shake their hand, okay? All right, just looking at the chat. All right. So the interview question, tell me about your greatest weaknesses and your greatest strengths, and that came up in the chat. Now, I like to think of this question as your unique service selling position, your USP. Okay, this is your opportunity to tell them and show them how introspective you've been about where you can improve, which is basically your areas of weaknesses, right? And what you do really, really well. Okay, and there is nothing wrong with sharing your weaknesses. It actually shows a lot of courage and some vulnerability, and also some introspection for the interviewer, that they can see that you've actually spent some time thinking about areas where you can improve. Okay, so one of the great tools that we have to do that is a SWOT analysis. So I don't know whether you have a pen and paper handy, but on your pen and paper, just draw a grid exactly how you see it on the slide, and think about all your strengths. And then instead of thinking about weaknesses, I like to call them opportunities for growth or areas for improvement, because when you can demonstrate it to an interviewer that you've actually thought about, hey, look, you know, in terms of my own professional development, these are areas where I am trying to grow, where I've taken action and to improve, okay? And when you're answering that question, you want to start with your weaknesses and end on your strengths. Why do you think I'm saying that? Just put it in the chat real quick. Why do you think you want to start with your weaknesses and end on your strengths? That's what they remember last, exactly. You go out on a high, exactly. You leave a good impression. Yep, weaknesses are easier to remember, so you want them to remember your strengths. Yep. So they remember the last thing you said. Yes. Awesome. Excellent, excellent. Thank you for playing with me. All right, so on this next slide, I've got some suggestions. Again, they're just for inspiration. And each quadrant is kind of questions that you can ask yourselves around your strengths, your areas for improvement, any opportunities and threats. So today we're just going to focus on the top two quadrants, which are strengths and areas of improvement. And if you have a paper and pen handy, I'd love for you to spend a minute or two just writing down 2 or 3 strengths that you have and 2 or 3 areas for improvement. And if you're brave enough, share at least one in the chat. Okay. So just take a minute to do that, using these questions as a guideline or inspiration point for you. And if you have your resume to hand, that's a really good memory trigger, so that when you're looking at your resume and you're looking at all your accomplishments, you can think about, okay, when I did X, Y, or Z project or delivery or things that you were expected to do in your role, what did I do really well? What were my strengths in that area? And then if I could do it all over again, what were my areas that I could have improved on? Okay, so if you have your resume, and I'm looking at an imaginary resume on my table here, that's a really good piece of information to have with you when you're answering these strengths and areas for improvement questions. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Awesome, Jessica, thank you. Active listening, connections, network, relationships, thank you. Yes, Penny, excellent. I use my past recommendations to help me with my strengths. Excellent. All right. So it really does behoove you to take some time to do a SWOT analysis on yourself, so that you can answer that question confidently and it doesn't come off rehearsed, because you're demonstrating to your interviewer that you've done that introspection and you know where you want to improve and you know where you excel. Now, of course, you have to be somewhat strategic when you're answering this strengths and weakness question, okay? You don't want to say a bunch of weaknesses that are actually things they're looking for you to be able to do on the job description, okay? So again, think about what you're going to share. list list 1 or 2 weaknesses. Don't give them a laundry list of areas of improvements, okay? Maybe just 1 or 2 that they do not care about, that they could care less that you know that you have, because they minimally impact your ability to do the job that you're actually interviewing for. So there's some strategy here when you're answering the strengths and weakness question in an interview, okay? Awesome. So Cheryl says weaknesses: public speaking and networking. Strengths: creative problem solving, graphic arts, and leadership skills. Excellent, excellent. So when you're sharing your areas for improvement, don't just list off that, I'm going to use Cheryl as an example, that my areas of improvement are public speaking and networking. If you can demonstrate what you're doing to improve those areas to your interviewer, that takes you to the next level in their mind, right? So if you can say that I'm reading a book, I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm attending a class, I'm taking a course, I'm listening to podcasts, whatever it might be, it doesn't have to be very grandiose, but whatever it is you're doing to improve that area of improvement for yourself, that area of growth, that demonstrates to me what as an interviewee. Put that in the chat. What does that show me about you? Trying to improve. Excellent, Beth. Yeah. You're taking action and you're learning. Yes. Do you have a growth mindset? Excellent. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love how engaged everybody is. This is awesome. Yes, self-awareness. Huge, huge. Emotional intelligence in the workplace is a massive thing. Okay, yes. A weakness can also be a strength. Yes. Adaptable. Yes. Excellent. Excellent, everybody. Your self-improving professional development is your key. Yes, Lauren. Excellent. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you for talking to me on the chat. It's kind of, it's a very different environment when you're doing this through Zoom and you're talking to people virtually. So let's move on to the next kind of question that can be tricky, which are those behavioral questions, okay? So behavioral questions, the big giveaway, you know you're being given a behavioral question is whenever you see something along the lines or hear something along the lines of, can you tell me about, give me an example of, how did you handle a situation where you might have failed or where you were successful? Can you describe a time when? Have you ever had a conflict? Can you share a situation when this happened? Okay, when you hear those kind of phrases within a question, these are behavioral questions. And they ask these questions because they want to understand a little bit more about you and how you handled things in the past, because then they're an indicator of how you might handle things in the future. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is an example of a behavioral question. So give me an example of a time when you had a setback or disappointment concerning a project or activity you were responsible for. Right, that's quite a mealy question, wouldn't you say? Okay, so how do you answer a question like that? So the easiest way to answer a question like that, any behavioral question, is to use this formula called the STAR formula. Okay, you are all stars. Okay, we all have a little bit of stardust in us, right? We're literally made of the composition of the universe, right? So use that to your advantage here. Use this formula to answer these behavioral questions. Okay, so again, if you have a piece of paper to hand, I want you to think about a project or something that you were involved with at work, where you could use this formula, where you might use, where if you were asked a behavioral question, you might use that as an example. Okay, so you write the star down the side of, the left-hand side of your sheet of paper, and then you fill in the information that pertains to each part, right? So the S in the star stands for situation. So what was the situation? What's the headline of what you want to share here? Okay, what's the background? You want to set the scene for the interviewer. And then the T is for tasks. What tasks or target specifics, were there? So what was required? Who was involved? Where were you? Okay, and and just kind of go about the task and describing the task. And then the A is for action. What did you do? right? What was your specific part in this situation? What skills did you use? What behaviors and characteristics, okay, did you demonstrate, right? And you're kind of telling a story. And then the R is the result, the outcome, what actually happened. Now, the outcome can be a positive outcome and it can also be a negative outcome. So when you're being asked questions around, you know, can you tell me about a time when you failed? Use the STAR template to answer that question, right? And then when you're talking about the result, what happened, the failure, also include what did you learn from it so that you wouldn't do that again in the future, that you would mitigate that from happening in the future. Right? So I just want to give you a few minutes to think about an example that you could use in an interview to answer one of these behavioral questions using this formula. The other brilliant thing about this STAR formula, and if I had you all in person, I'd ask you to, one of you to come up on stage and do one with me, but we're going to do this virtually. So the other brilliant thing about this STAR formula is where else can you put the result? Where else can that be used, do you think? So just put that in the chat. Where else can you use that information? On your resume. Excellent. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. So the more stars that you do, the more accomplishments that you can add to your resume, right? Anything that you can quantify in the results, like you increase sales by 50%, or you increase revenue by 20%, or you got your project completed 3 weeks earlier than expected, or whatever it might be, this is all you can put all of this stuff on your resume as an accomplishment. Yeah, on your LinkedIn profile, on your cover letter, excellent, yeah. But it's really great things to put on your resume as an accomplishment. So I want you to just play again with me, if you don't mind, and take a couple of minutes to just jot down an example within this template of something that you might share in an interview, something that you did well, or something that you might want to talk about where you may have failed, or a conflict that you had, okay? And I just want to give you a few minutes to do that. Thank you, email, yeah, follow up note. Awesome, guys. Yeah. Just take a minute to do that. And then put in the chat for me, you're done, just so I know. Excellent, Ramona. Ramona put volunteer success that relates to profession. Yes. So I'll just give you a minute to do that. And again, having your resume to hand, having past annual reviews to hand as input to this STAR exercise is a really great way to help trigger your memory of what you've done in your career that you did really well, or that, you know, things that you want to learn, you would have learned from, and you may have done differently in the future. Okay. And the more stars that you have in your back pocket, the more equipped you are to be able to answer all these behavioral questions. And if they ask you a behavioral question where you can't think of an exact example, you might actually have a star that you can use that's very similar, that you can use to answer that question. Okay, a similar example. It may not be exactly what they're looking for, but you can say, well, I have a similar example, and this is what happened, right? And then you just go through the situation, the task, the action, and the results. Okay. Excellent. Yes, you can use them as, you're basically telling a story. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Just want to go back a bit. Just reading the chat real quick. Yeah, Laurie basically says stories go on your LinkedIn. Absolutely. The stars can go on your LinkedIn. Yep. And Rob asked, is it okay to say, I never had a situation like that, but here's what I would do if I did? Absolutely. Or if there's a similar situation, if there's a similar example that you can use, Rob, use that too. Okay. All right. Okay, and now the brilliant thing about having your stars to hand, especially if you're doing a virtual interview, when I work with my clients, we put their stars on sticky flip chart paper, right? And we end up with having like stars plastered, posted all over the wall, okay? And what I encourage my clients to do, because when you're on a virtual call, nobody can see what's behind the camera, right? So if you have a wall where you have on your flip chart paper, those big, huge flip chart pieces of paper with this, like a big giant post-it note, if you have your stars on there and you've got them up on the wall, as they're asking you these behavioral questions, you can just kind of glance off above your camera and look at your star and go, I'm going to use that one, right? And then you've got the information right in front of you, around you in the room, right? So that's a brilliant way to use your stars as well, is to have them stuck on the wall behind the camera on your when you're doing a video interview, for example, and so that you can easily refer to them, and then they're in a nice big print, hopefully legible writing, that you can just refer to and go, okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about that one in this one, to that question, okay? And again, when you're on the phone, if you have, or virtual, if you can have all your pieces of information to hand that you can easily reference to jog your memory, to help you again with the confidence of answering those questions to the best of your ability, okay? But what's even more valuable for you, especially when if you want to not be looking at your pieces of paper and thinking, oh God, where did I put the answer to that question, is to really rehearse them before your interview. The more you rehearse your responses to those questions and how you are going to communicate the star, so that you remove any waffle, any unnecessary information. The point of a star is to keep your response succinct, right? So that it flows easily. Your interviewer doesn't have 15 minutes to listen to one star when they're in an interview for you, because they've usually got a bunch of other interviews lined up, or they've got a meeting they need to get to. So the more succinct you are in responding to those behavioral questions using this formula, just makes you look very efficient and you sound confident because you're just sticking to your formula, okay? And the more you rehearse that up front before the interview, practice with somebody else, do a role play, video yourself answering the question so you can see your body language when you're actually saying the response, is really going to be time well spent, because it all goes towards your confidence factor, okay, and how you come across when you're responding to that question, because there might be certain responses that you want to give, or certain stars that you might have a negative memory around, right? You might not even know that your facial expressions or your eyes are saying one thing, but the words coming out of your mouth are saying another, right? So that means that you're being incongruent. So you've rehearsed what you want to say verbally, but your body language is totally the opposite, okay? So the more you practice saying it so that everything is congruent, the more genuine you come across, and the more you're able to kind of, if there was any negative energy around that experience, the more you're able to dispel it, because you're just sticking to the facts, right? You're just removing the emotion from the response and you're sticking to the facts as you answer the question, okay? All right, so the next interview question we're going to touch upon is, tell me about your last or current job or ex-employer question. Now, this goes back to what I was just saying, okay? You really need to be careful how you answer this question, because again, if there was a negative energy around that experience, that's going to come right through. That's what you're going to project when you're answering that question. You might do something like, did you see I don't know whether you caught me rolling my eyes, but right? So so when I'm working with clients directly, one of the things I really focus on is, what is their body saying to me versus what's coming out of their mouth, okay? So if you've had a positive experience with your last employer, great. You're going to be pretty congruent in what you're saying in your response. But if you had a negative experience with your last employer, you trying to be this, say one thing, but your body is gonna give you away every single time, because it's going to tell the interviewer exactly what happened. So again, if you're able to rehearse that question before the interview, especially if it was a negative experience, maybe you got let go from your job recently, because of what's going on out there, and you felt that it was really unfair. What can you do now to help you shift your energy so that you can look at it from a different perspective? Okay, and maybe not take it so personally, because it's very easy for us to take these kind of defeats personally, especially when we let go from a job and we have, you know, financial pressures. Maybe we've got lots of bills to pay. Maybe you're the main breadwinner in the family and you have a lot of financial burden, you know. So when they might ask you about that question, this question in particular, how do you shift your energy? So I'm going to help you with that. So how do you shift your energy? You basically, again, just think about all the facts, right? Think about the factual stuff, removing the emotional component from that response. And the more you rehearse it, where the more you just stick to the facts and remove the emotional component, the better that you're going to be able to answer that question, and everything is going to be in alignment, right? The words coming out of your mouth and your body language are going to be in alignment when you're responding to that question. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. A much harder question to answer is, why do you want to leave your current job? Okay, find the positive out of that experience. Thank you, Cynthia. Exactly, right? There was definitely must have been some positive aspects from your last employer, even if you left on a negative, if the parting was a negative thing, that you found were positive, right? So focus on those things and just focus on the facts of that role. And what, you know, I'm going to go back to Alan Lester's question around why do you want to leave your current job? Well, there's a number of different things, right, that you can think about why you would want to leave your current job. Now, if you can think about it in the positive rather than the negative, maybe you just want to get the hell out of Dodge and you're just done with that job, right? Because it's just not feeding your soul how you felt. That's not what you want to say in the interview, right? You don't want to say to your interviewer, well, that position was just crushing my soul, right? I just didn't like being there every day. Didn't like the people. I didn't like the job. I didn't like the work, right? Because can you see where your language is going? It's going to the negative. However, if you think about where you're going, right? Your future focus. What is it you want, right? You know what you don't want because you're leaving your job because of the things that you don't want. But what is it you actually want, right? So if you focus on what you want going forward and you answer the question with, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, that puts you in a totally different energy shift. It puts you in a totally different frame of mind because you're focusing on what you really do want rather than the past, which is something that maybe you didn't want. Does that make sense, I hope? Yeah, and if you have positive, absolutely, Gary, what if you have positive emotions? You can certainly show that. Why not, right? But you need to demonstrate why you're leaving such a job that you might have loved and you have positive emotions for, and you're going to apply for why have you applied for that position? What positive emotions can you demonstrate to the interviewer about why you're applying for that position, Gary? Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And Patty's put in the chat, start off by saying something positive about your previous company, like it was a great company, or I really enjoyed the people that I worked with, but I was part of a downsizing with 7 other people. Okay. Rather than say the word but, because it adds a little bit of a negative thing there, I would say, however, I was part of a downsizing with 7 other people. And now I'm looking for my next wonderful opportunity. Okay. All right, I'm conscious of the time and I've got only a few minutes left. So let's go on to body language, communication. So even when you're not communicating, you are communicating. I cannot stress this enough. You are literally a walking, talking communication device. You are an antenna for communication, right? So even when you're not speaking, you are communicating, right? You are emitting your body language. Your body language is emitting a certain energy, which everybody else picks up on, right? So if you've heard the expression, you could cut the atmosphere with a knife, right? That's because even without knowing the conversation in the room or the words being spoken, you can feel the energy, right, that everybody's giving off and they're communicating non-verbally, right? Conversely, when somebody walks in the room and they light up the room, again, you're seeing how that person's energy, without even them speaking, you just feel really good being around that person, right? Because the energy that they're communicating in their frequency is one of positivity, right? And lightness and brightness and fun, right? And we all want some of that, right? So be aware of what you're communicating non-verbally, okay? Okay, whoops. So, oh gosh, I'm going way too forward. Okay, sorry. All right, so everybody, as I'm sure many of you have seen the communication pie, right? So that certain percentage is your body language, a certain percentage is the words you speak, and a certain percentage is the tone of your voice. And so what does that look like? So again, you know, when you're doing anything virtually, especially in a video, if I was sitting here talking to you all slouched like this and giving my presentation all slouched like this, would you really want to listen to me? Probably not, right? Right? Because I'm not very engaging. However, I'm sitting upright. I've lengthened my torso. I've got my neck elongated, right? I'm fully engaged and present, and I'm speaking to you, and I'm speaking clearly, hopefully. Hopefully you can understand me very well, right? So the way you present yourself in your body language, even virtually, is really going to be important. Okay, so 55% of our communication is non-verbal, and 38% of what you say is the tone of your voice, and 7% is spoken words. So you, the cartoon basically says, "Can we discuss this non-verbally?" Right? So you can just tell. Somebody doesn't have to say a word. You can tell exactly how they're thinking and feeling, right? Okay, and the same goes for you in an interview. If you're nervous, your body language is going to communicate that non-verbally, all right? Okay. All right. So one of the ways that you can maintain your confidence throughout the whole interview is to stay engaged, okay? Be very present, and just know that your interview is temporary. It's a short period of time, right? Just stay fully engaged and present in the interview. It's a date, remember? Now, in a date, would you switch off? Right? Would you switch off? Would you become unengaged? You might want to run out, you know, the back door on a really bad date. But, you know, in an interview, it's a little bit differently, right? So treat it as an engaging conversation right through to the end. And just check in with yourself. What's my energy doing right now? Am I dipping? And then pick yourself back up. Okay, just constantly be checking in with yourself. What am I doing right now? What is my body doing? Where's my energy at? And the more you kind of check in with yourself, the more you're able to write it and correct it, and then pick yourself back up. Okay, pick your energy back up. So you need to get your Beyonce on, right, in your interview. All right, you need to get your Beyonce on. If there's anyone in your mind that you think is emulates confidence, charisma, high energy, positivity, right? Use that, pretend to be that person, mirror that person, right? What are the characteristics of this person that you want to emulate in your interview, right? You know, I do, when I'm getting my sass on, I totally do this pose from Beyonce, totally. There's a few posts of me on Facebook when I'm being sassy where I'm literally doing this pose, and I didn't even realize it until I saw this picture again. So is there somebody that you admire that demonstrates for you confidence, charisma, being engaging, high energy, positivity? What are those characteristics that you just want to mirror and emulate during your interview? Okay. Okay. And yes, there is no wardrobe malfunctions. So make sure that you are wearing appropriate attire for your interview. I don't think I didn't see that in the chat. All right, so let's quickly talk about body language a little bit. Oops, sorry, again. And sorry, Jessica, I'll get through this really quickly. So maintain a positive, assertive posture, maintain an assertive posture. So I've already said this. Be aware of your body language when you're in front of a camera, okay? Consider using power poses. Now, if we had time, I'd have everybody standing up and doing a power pose for 2 minutes in front of the mirror, okay? Before your interview, before you leave the house, before you get on the phone, before you get in front of that camera for your virtual interview, do your power posing. And it kind of looks like this, right? You're going to stand in a power pose for 2 minutes in front of the mirror, and you are going to basically just have whatever power song playing in your head, right? That really gets you pumped and motivated so that by the time you get in front of that interviewer, you are good and ready to go, okay? And then, whoops, sorry. I'm sorry, guys, that now I want to go back. There we go. All right. Watch your hands. Now, I've been pretty animated on this call, right? But there's nothing wrong with being animated because it shows your passion, all right? But what you don't want to be doing is flailing your arms around in the air and maybe knocking people's coffee out of their hands and stuff like that. So you want to kind of keep it somewhat contained, but it's okay to use your hands, okay? Pay attention to your face. So when you're not wearing a mask for your interview, pay attention to your face. And so the more you practice those questions and those stars, you could practice them in front of the mirror. What is your face doing when you're saying certain things? Is it congruent with your body, you know, with what the words coming out of your mouth? Maintain appropriate eye contact. Now, I am not actually looking at the video. I'm looking at my camera lens when I'm doing this call so that you can, it looks like I'm looking at you in the eye, I hope, okay? So when you're doing your virtual interview online, look at your camera lens. Don't necessarily look at them in the eye, all right? Especially if there's multiple people that are interviewing, it's just easier to look at the camera lens because then you're really looking at them in the eye, okay? Mirror the body language of others. Now, this is usually a little bit easier to do in person than virtually, but if you can see their body language, mirror it, right? And see if they're mirroring yours, because if they're mirroring your body language, that means that they're really engaged and they're listening to what you're saying, okay? And stop fidgeting. So again, you know, don't be doing this whole, when you're talking, having a pen in your hand and clicking your pen. That drives people nuts, right? If you're one of those people that, you know, likes to fiddle with your pen, fiddle with your hair or anything, just have your hands in front of you and keep them there so that you're not fidgeting so much, okay? So I just want to go through some really quick tips for video interviewing checklists, again, because this is all to do with your confidence and your ability to not be worrying about the technology when you should be just focusing on your responses and your interview questions, okay? So if you are asked to do an interview virtually, and this is obvious, right? Download the tool that they'll be using so you have it way ahead of time, okay? So whatever tool they're using, be it Zoom, Skype, GoToMeeting, have that downloaded on your laptop or whatever device you're going to be using. If they've given you login credentials for the meeting, print them off. Don't lose that email. Print that email off and keep them to hand so you have a hard copy, or at least save it somewhere on your device where you know you can find it again. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with clients where they've said, they sent me all the link information and I can't find it in my email, and they're panicking and they're stressing. And that just takes away, that adds stress and anxiety to an already stressful and stressful situation, especially if you're a nervous interviewer, right? So just, you know, print that email off, have it to hand, save it somewhere so that you know exactly where it is and you're not going to be looking for it in your reams and reams of email, okay? Make sure that your device can support the technology, all right? So test the technology. I'm going to say this a million times, test that technology, and ask a friend to video conference with you so that you get used to the software and you can play around with it. Again, this is all about increasing your confidence during the interview, so you're not worrying about, oh, how do I do this and how do I do that, and all that stupid stuff that you don't need to be worrying about when you're in the middle of an interview, okay? Make sure that you have, this is obvious again, make sure you have an excellent Wi-Fi internet connection. If you don't have one in your own home, go to someone that does, okay? Borrow their office. Do the interview in a quiet area of your home and in a place with a non-distracting background. So you can see my background has nothing behind me, right? It's okay if you have a painting behind you or an inspirational image, that's fine. But you don't want a bunch of stuff behind you that's super distracting so that the interviewer is looking more at your stuff than at you, all right? You want their whole attention on you. If you have your stars prepared, have them to hand, like stick them on the walls, have them on the table in front of you. Sorry, Jessica, I know I'm over. Lighting. Okay, lighting, natural lighting is best. So if you can sit in front of a window or something like that, that gives you all that natural light. That is the most flattering kind of light. And you don't want to be backlit, you want to be front lit, right? So you want all the light in front of you and not back at the back of you, because otherwise you're going to look like one of those hidden, you know, those hidden silhouettes on those shows where the person doesn't want to be identified. You're going to look like this black blob. Okay, position your device up high. So I've got my laptop right now sitting on a box that's about this deep, so that I lifted it up so that I'm not looking down, I'm looking up. And that again helps with my posture and my breathing, right? So I'm elongated, my neck is long, and I'm looking at you eye to eye. I'm looking at the camera at the eye level, all right? Think like a selfie, you know, everybody who does these selfies where they're like looking at themselves like this. It's the most flattering position, okay? And lastly, when you get the interview details, test the link ahead of time. Just click on the link, make sure it works, make sure you don't have any issues so that you can resolve them prior to the actual interview. And again, this all goes to you feeling much more confident so that on the day when you are live, you can just go for it. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this. Let your light shine. So our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our dark, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And just one more final note. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind always. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Oh my goodness, so much good information. How about a virtual clap? Everyone on video, thank you. Great job, great engagement on the chat, you guys. So much content. So what we're doing, and I mentioned this at the beginning, we have a blogger that is blogging furiously right now, taking notes, and we will have that blog up in the next couple days. This this virtual event is also being recorded and will be posted out on our website later today. And so, so much good content. And I just want to add one thing, two little things to this. First of all, there were some questions in the chat about this. Don't feel like when you're walking into an interview, you have to nail all 55 of these tips, okay? Much of it is preparation. It's ahead of the time, so it's not in the interview. So as much practice as you can do ahead of time, that makes the interview even better. And then by the time you get to the interview, just relax and be yourself. Don't focus on, you know, not twiddling your pen, because if you're focusing on that, then you're probably going to do it and you're going to be distracted. So just absorb everything Carmen said, go off, practice, prepare. And when you get to the interview, just like she said, be yourself, relax, and they'll hire you because they like you. That's the concept. People hire people they like. So awesome. Again, thank you so much. This was fantastic. All right, we are move on now. And as we move into hiring companies, I just wanted to make an announcement. Chris, I hope you're okay with this if you're on the line, but Chris is on the line today and he's been with us the last couple weeks, and he just let me know that he just accepted a position at Common Spirit, which is Dignity Health, and they're one of our sponsors. And so I'm not sure how he made all the connections, but congratulations, Chris. Woo! We're so excited for you. He's going to be part of the talent acquisition team at Dignity Health, or Common Spirit now is the new name. Congratulations, Chris. We're so glad you're here. You were here with us. And Chris said in a private message to me, I just wish I would have known about Career Connector sooner. So I am asking all of you that if you know anyone possibly looking for a job, invite them to these Wednesday morning events. People are getting jobs out there. The new jobs report was 1.8 million new jobs in the month of July. So jobs are out there. But people got know they're alone and they want to get connected. So invite your friends, let them know that. So awesome. We're so happy for you, Chris. All right. So now we're moving on to our companies. The first company, one of the things, WealthWave has come on as a partner with us. And one of the things, and the reason is because the things we keep getting asked about is, all right, maybe I'm not interested in doing a traditional job, or I want to do something maybe a side gig or a side hustle. And so we found a company that does a version of that, but it's a full company. It's not MLM. It's not commission only based. So it's a true opportunity that so we partnered with them and we said, come out, talk to our people and see what they have. So Jason is here, Jason Wiseman. He spent 2 decades in the corporate world in the semiconductor industry, and his business experience has ranged from owning his own consulting firm to purchasing a franchise that he and his wife ran. And then the past 12 years, he has spent managing his own agency. He's been recognized for his performance in the top 500, been a feature on the cover of Business and Finance magazine, and is a multiple 6-figure earner. He also co-authored a best-selling book called Winning Ways. He's been married for 26 years, has 2 children, and is a senior marketing director. So please help me welcome Jason Wiseman to the virtual stage today.
Thank you, thank you. You hear me okay?
I gotcha.
Okay, I don't have control yet of the screen. Maybe I do now. Okay, very good, very good. Well, first of all, you know, I sat here since the beginning and listened to Carmen, and I know Carmen outside of this environment. She's an awesome lady, and that was a phenomenal presentation. Very, very good for everybody, including myself to hear. I took pictures of some of the screens. It was awesome. Very good job. And thank you for letting us be here and partner with you guys. So as Jessica said, we are WealthWave, and we're known as the How Money Works company. And you know, I got started in this industry as a client initially. After a bunch of years in the corporate world and starting a family and so on and so forth, I just felt like we were a little bit behind the 8 ball financially. And so I reached out to my CPA and asked him if he had anybody that did, insurance planning, investment planning. And he sits me down with a guy who did something different than past experience. And the one thing he did is he educated us. And my wife and I, we both have bachelor's degrees. We were not uneducated people, but when it came to money and finance, we were just missing some things in our life. And it wasn't big things, it was little things, but over time it added up to a lot. And so we went through this education process, and I was a little bit frustrated with my career being in semiconductor. It was up and down. I was at Motorola, and over an 8-year period that I was there, I think we laid off about 70,000 people globally. And so it was just, you know, it was a hot environment. You just never knew what was coming. And so I was looking to make a change. I had no idea this is what I do, but when I saw the goodness and how it was education first, product second, I just said, hey, if I could have a shot at doing that, I'll take it. And so one of the unique things that I want to share with you is I was able to do that part-time initially, which is very rare, almost non-existent in any type of licensed profession. So that is one thing that we embrace. And of course, behind that is our vision and mission, which is we want to be a force for families. When you look at financial services today, most of the big name companies that you would know are really focused on acquiring high net worth clients. And they grow through acquisition of smaller companies. And so they don't know what to do with, you know, a household like mine that was just a little bit above middle America, but not much. And that is our entire mission, is to do that. Our motto is no family left behind. And then within that framework, you know, we provide enough training and education for our agents to work part-time aside a full-time individual to just hold their hand through the process so that they can then turn around and go serve people as well. As I said, our mission is no family left behind. We really believe that if you change somebody's literacy, you can change their life. And when it comes to money, we know money is not everything, but there was a famous quote that said, if you don't think money's everything, it ranks right up there with oxygen, and you can't go without either one of them for too terribly long. It's the #1 economic crisis in the world today. It affects about 5 billion people, that's with a B, on the planet. And right here in Arizona, you know, we are on a mission to stamp out financial illiteracy. We've got a population of about 7.2 million people, and 6.9 million of us fit in the demographic that need, want, could afford, and really would benefit from having a guide to help them get their ducks in a row when it comes to simple money things, having a budget, having an emergency fund. You know, I just heard recently that 32% of mortgages did not get paid last month due to the pandemic. And yes, it's been a long time, and yes, I have sympathy, so I don't want you to take this out of context, but you know, there were 4 million people that filed for forbearance the first month, which means 4 million people were rattled enough that 30 days of no wages meant that their home was in jeopardy. And yes, it's just life happens, but boy, with a little education, that could change for people, and that's what we're about. Again, we start with education. I'd love to spend an hour talking to you about our How Money Works program. We wrote a book. It's only about 100 pages long, and it's conversational, and it's cute, and it's engaging. And part of the reason we did this is because when you look at financial education in the United States, if we were to give everybody an exam and test them the same way we test, you know, I have a high school student here at my house, and he's testing for reading, arithmetic, and did all his AP courses and all that stuff. And we test out at the 8th grade level when it comes to money and finance. So the challenge is creating a venue and an educational system that is sophisticated enough for an adult and hits home on things that really matter, but at the same time is easy enough to deliver that you literally could walk into a junior high school and teach the curriculum to people. And so that's what we've created, and we're having a big impact. Just over the last 6 months, we've delivered financial education to 200,000 individuals and families. And then with the advent of technology, which we've been way ahead of the curve, like everything that you're seeing here was done prior to the pandemic. We've had all these tools for over a year. We had one session that was live streamed out of Atlanta, and there were 20,000 people in attendance going through a basic How Money Works class. So that's what we're about, and that's really what the career is about educating people. Now, the idea is that people become a licensed educator in our industry. We are in the largest industry in the world. It's $109 trillion, financial services is. Real estate and retail are the next 2 largest, but the 2 of them combined are still not the size of our industry. We think people are being left behind, and sometimes might even be taken advantage of if they don't have the right education. And so why would somebody choose this career path? And I'll give you some things that I saw that were important, that really helped me make a transition. And now I'm doing this for other people and helping other people do the same thing. One, it's a turnkey solution. Number 2, it is a licensed profession. We're heavily regulated by the state and the federal government and so on and so forth. There's ownership here. That's a big deal. The marketing and media is done turnkey. We can start people part-time and not just start. It's one thing to start, but actually have success and get a result. I have now been through my 2nd recession. I started here in 2008, right during that was my full-time. I actually started in 07, but then in 2008, November 2008, I left Motorola and became a full-time licensed agent here in the industry, and went through that just fine. No layoffs, no furloughs. Business grew. Now the pandemic, we've been having record months the last 3 months, believe it or not. People are looking for answers. So there's no layoffs, no furloughs, hands-on training and mentorship, and not just by theory. These are people that grew up in the industry. A lot of them, like me, that just came out of the fire, so to speak, that were, needed some help and saw value and went through the process. So these are leaders that are do-it-yourself leaders. And then we've got a long history of helping families. So here's what I do this every time we do a session like this. On Friday, we will do a more in-depth walkthrough with anybody that's interested. So you can RSVP by sending me an email at jason.wiseman@wealthwave.com. And then I love these QR codes. This is so easy. All you have to do is take your phone out right now, grab this with your camera, and that will send me an email, and then I'll respond to the email and give you the Zoom information for Friday. But this has been a great career for us. A lot of the intangible benefits are some of the things that Carmen talked about on the mentality side of things that we get to do. It's been great to see my kids at a very young age take interest in getting their own financial house in order. My 20-year-old daughter came to me. You know, a lot of times with children, you say things to them. If you have kids, you'll appreciate this. And you just feel like it falls on deaf ears, you know, in one ear and out the other. My 20-year-old daughter, without any prompting, came to me the other day. She's a full-time college student, makes a little bit of money. She says, "Dad, I think it's time for me to start a Roth IRA." And I said, "I think you're right." And so we helped her do that. So we don't want to just have an impact on people immediately today. Our mission, we're playing an infinite game here. If you've ever read that great book by Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, it's awesome. We want to impact the second generation. And we know if we get to the first, which is like me, then I can transition some of this to our kids, and we leave the world a much better place than where we found it. So love to chat with people about who we are and what we do. This is no pressure. We're just going to share some information, and we'll see where things go from there. But thanks for the time, Jessica, today. Love what you're doing, and this has been a great morning.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And just really excited to see people joining those calls after this event, or
Yes.
after our webinar. So that's been such a great thing to see people taking action on that.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for being here. Now we are going to move on to Jamie at U-Haul. And Jamie's actually been at U-Haul for 11 years. She started part-time while going to college, looking for a little extra money. And after about 4 years, she went to full-time position as an assistant manager in the call center for a couple years. And for the past 5 years, Jamie's been a recruiting assistant, a recruiter assisting the U-Haul stores, marketing offices, repair, and assembly plants with their hiring needs. So will you please help me welcome Jamie Zell-Bamer to our stage. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, thank you so much, Jessica. All right, so here I follow up at Jason. After Carmen, everyone did great. Let's hope I can do just as well. I don't have controls. There we go, thank you. All right, so I am happy to say from the last time I had came onto Career Connectors that we are now coming out of our hiring freeze. So I have lots more positions to share with you guys today. So this is our corporate office in downtown Phoenix. We are located off of Thomas and Central. And we were founded in 1945 by the Shones. We're the leader in the do-it-yourself moving business. We have 20,000 independent dealers and almost 2,000 company-owned U-Hauls all over the United States and Canada. Currently, we have about 32,000 team members. So that's all over Canada, United States as well. And we are the industry leader in all of your do-it-yourself moving supplies, self-storage, propane, and custom hitches as well. And so a little bit about U-Haul is we have several different companies. We're not just U-Haul. We have Rep West, which is an insurance company that's also here at our main office in downtown Phoenix. We have Oxford Life Insurance, and then we also have Americo Real Estate Company. So a lot of times if you're looking for different positions on U-Haul jobs, you'll see those titles along because all of our recruiting department recruits for all of the departments. All right, so I'm going to go over some of the positions, and then if anyone has any interest in any of the positions or wants information, my information is provided in the chat, so you can definitely send me your resume over and I can get it into the right hands. This lighting, I'm sorry, I have a window right here and I thought the lighting would be better, but it's not. So we have our call center position. So most of our call center positions are either a seasonal position, which offers about 40 hours a week, or we have part-time positions. And some of those are work from home. Others require you to commute to our main office here in downtown Phoenix. For our U-Haul locations, we have customer service representatives, that's part-time also. Most of the time for all of our field positions working at our U-Haul locations, it kind of start as part-time as well. So we have reservation agents, and then we also have hitch professionals, which install our hitches. And then eventually a lot of times people will just do it to supplement their income, or also they will take on our position and grow with our company, become our general managers. And we also hire general managers, those would be our full-time positions. Now for our corporate positions, we have lots of IT opening up as we are expanding and growing. Whoops, what happened here? I went too far. We have IT, I don't know what I just did, Jessica, there we go. We have our IT positions, which I'm not so tech savvy, so, but we have software developers. We also have a senior systems administrator that we're hiring for. We have quality assurance agents. And also we have our Oxford Life Insurance positions that we are hiring for. Now, if you are somebody that is looking to do something more hands-on, we also have our assembly plant, which is located in Tempe, Arizona. And our assembly plant actually assembles all of our U-Haul trucks and trailers right there next to IKEA. And of course, we have several more positions. That's just the main ones that we're focusing on right now. To apply for our positions, you would go to uhauljobs.com. When you log in, you're going to see this screen right here. You'll type in the zip code you're looking for. You'll select your new applicant, and then you can browse all of our positions. If there's already a position on there that you're interested in and you've already applied, like I said, you can go ahead and send me an email with your resume, and I can get it over to the correct hands as well. All right, some of our benefits that we offer, a lot of these are for our full-time. So for our full-time team members, we offer the medical plan. Dental and vision is available for our part-timers. 401k and stock in the company is also available for part-timers. And then we have MetLife and home auto insurance discounts. And then we also have the health savings benefits. And we also have a kids program where you can virtually chat with a doctor, no charge for any children under the age of 12, which is really nice. We have several different benefits. Those are just the most popular ones. And U-Haul is really big on health. So we are actually in the process of breaking ground right now for our on-site gym. And on top of that, we have Weight Watchers. We also, when our gym opens up, we will have personal trainers in there and do exercise classes, stuff like that. We also offer the dietitian programs as well. And then we also have like lunch and learns, different ways to learn different ways to be healthy. And then we also do a lot of things in the community, which is like active day and cancer walks and stuff like that. Right now, with everything going on with COVID and everything, we've kind of taken a step back from those group events, but we do still plan on opening our gym hopefully towards the end of the year. So that's exciting. And just a little bit of information with our COVID-19. Typically, if we weren't social distancing in my office, I have it's a large room and I have 2 other coworkers, but we do not all work on the same days. We rotate days that we work from home. And then of course they have our filters, and then also the sanitizing. We have somebody that comes in and cleans periodically throughout the day while we're here. And then sanitizers for our field members. So we offer lots of Lysol wipes and stuff like that to do those extra measures. Take that extra time to make sure all of our trucks are clean before we send them back out to the next customer. And then we also have an on-site virtual doctor chat that we do as well. So yesterday we actually had on-site testing for all of our team members as well. And that is all for me. I was trying to keep up with the chat, but I'm not that multi-talented here. But if anybody has any questions, you can definitely reach out to me. I can help you get in contact with the correct person. If it's not for one of my positions, I can, share that with my IT recruiter or any of those other ones. I did see earlier there was a lot of people interested in IT. So if anybody wants to shoot me your resume, I would definitely love to share it. That's it. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jamie. I am actually going to jump in really quick because one of the things we found with COVID is for some reason, our neighborhoods are losing power and internet kind of at random intervals. So Jessica just lost power. So
Oh no!
yeah, we've kind of been alternating. So far, not both of us, so we're good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, makes virtual fun.
Yes, totally understand.
Yeah. So I am going to go ahead and launch a poll right now. And as soon as you answer the question, the little window will disappear from your screen and we can move on to the next one. But we used to always do the paper evaluations. We are very interested in your feedback on our event. So these poll questions are one way that we collect that. But if you have anything specific you'd like to tell us, please feel free to email us at contact@careerconnectors.org. And we would love to hear maybe companies you're interested in or topics you're interested in or just whatever feedback you have. And I'm trying to, there we go. Okay, so these are some of our partners that were able to help us bring this program to you. So thank you to all of our wonderful partners. This is a website. We've partnered with Best Companies AZ and put together kind of a COVID resource page. And on this page are several things, but probably the thing of most interest is we've got a big list of verified companies that are hiring right now. So I encourage you to go ahead and, oh, thank you, Beth, for putting that in the chat. Pop over to that page and see what you can find on there. There's also some job seeker resources there as well. If you haven't heard of DISC, that's a service that we're able to offer for free. It's an assessment and it will help you kind of understand what your personal preferences are, some of your communication styles, and it actually gives you a lot of good information that you can carry through into interviewing and for your resume. And we've got a session coming up in a couple of weeks here that'll explain what it all means. But in the meantime, if you want to take it, you just go to our website /DISC and it's right there for you to take for free. Jessica mentioned that we do blog these events. So if you miss some of the detail, you can watch in a couple of days on the website and the blog should be posted there. We keep leaving the professional photo link on there. Just whenever we do get back to in person, we will be offering the professional photos for you again. And we are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. On LinkedIn, we have a group, and that's a great place to get job leads that we weren't able to feature at the event but are happening, or ask questions of different people. So I encourage you to join the conversation there. Okay. This shows our upcoming events. So next week, next Wednesday, we're actually hosting a panel discussion. So instead of have one company at a time, we're going to do 2 groups of probably 4 companies, and we're going to feature what are 2 of the hottest growing industries in Phoenix right now. Oh, Jessica says she's back, so I should be giving this back to her. Sorry. Jessica, did you want to jump in? Maybe not. Okay. So next week we'll have State Farm, Freedom Financial Network, Vanguard, and Silicon Valley Bank, and we'll be adding a couple more. You can watch your emails. And then on September 2nd is the day that we're going to have a keynote speaker who features, who explains all about that DISC assessment. Yes. Okay. Hold on one second. It's, sorry about that. In September, we'll be going to kind of an every other week format. So watch the dates. I'm looking, there we go.
Ah, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I feel like you picked it up like a pro. Yeah, I can finish out if you're okay with that.
Yep, I was just gonna say the companies for September 2nd.
Awesome. Okay, so again, we gave the link to DISC, and so complete that before the next event or before the September 2nd, and Marlene Lundy will walk you through how to use that, especially and understand your value as you are going through this time of career transition, and how to incorporate that into your resume, into your interviewing, into your networking, etc. We have Equality Health and Early Warning as our hiring companies right now. And then on September 16th, we are doing another panel. And this is one of our most highly requested panels of the year, every year. It's with 4 professional certified resume experts. And we will be asking them some fun questions, some interesting questions. We're taking questions from you guys in the audience. Upon registration, you get to ask your questions. And then we're going to talk about all the resume stuff at that event. So don't miss out. September 16th, we have McKesson WealthWave will be back, and so will U-Haul that day. And so those are the next couple events we have coming up. And then here is where you get all the resources we talked about. So I had multiple people private messaging me during this program today asking, where are those webinars you're talking about? Where is the information recorded and saved? And that is under that CC webinars box. This is our homepage that you're seeing right now. So if you go to careerconnectors.org, you will see this. That box on the right-hand side, CC webinars, is where these events are hosted. We have 2 other types of videos we're doing. The first one we're calling career chats. I do an update every week, once or twice a week, with just information, job tips. I'm going to be giving an unemployment update this Friday because there's some new unemployment information coming out. And if you haven't heard, President Trump had approved a $300 allocation to unemployment after that $600 additional was had ended. And that Arizona is one of the first states to actually get the benefit. And so that's getting retro backed to August 2nd, I think is the date. And so I've been watching that happen. And so if you are submitting your claims, keep submitting your claims, because that additional $300 will be retroactive. And I believe it's August 2nd, but that update on Friday will have those, the facts and the details on that. And then we also have access to community updates. And so the community update is the middle box here. And these are various interviews with, we're doing within our community with different resources and different job guidance. I had a question here. How long will the retro last? So the $300 unemployment goes back to August 2nd, I believe. And right now, it doesn't give an end date. It's basically until the funds are exhausted, and they are saying 4 to 6 weeks. But in the meantime, hopefully Congress will come to a bipartisan agreement on the next stimulus package. And so the executive order is just for the meantime. It's not meant to last in replacement of the stimulus package. So the next stimulus package, we will hope, gets approved in the next week or so. And then whatever that new law is what will take place instead of that $300. So I don't have all the details yet. They're still working them out. And so as I find out, we're going to get them out to you guys. Okay, so volunteers, you guys, this program takes a ton of volunteers. It's an army of volunteers to make it happen. So this is our virtual wave again. Thank you to our volunteers on the line today and that are helping every week. We so appreciate all of you. You are awesome. All right, let me just check before I finish out if I have anything else. Oh, we have a new email provider. I don't know if you said this, Sheila. We have a new email provider. We have switched from one platform to another. And so you're supposed to be getting emails on Monday morning announcing these events. If you did not see your email this past week, or if you don't see it next week, would you do us a favor and check your junk mail and make sure that you have approved it as a sender? Because sometimes when you change email providers, they identify you as spam until you have kind of that foundation. And so just take a look at your email and make sure it's not dumping into junk. You guys, today was an honor to be able to do this and to be able to serve you and our community. And our prayer is always that you will have hope leaving here. So just know that we are praying for you guys, that you do land into the career of your dreams. Have a great week. Thank you.